The version of Upsong played live at Bush Hall begins with a solo saxophone, which outlines an arpeggiated figure. To begin with, this includes only the notes G and D, a sparse sound that leaves possibilities open in terms of what's to come. The part stutters and skips, repeating or missing out the occasional note, before settling into a steadier groove that gets the song properly underway. Ironically, considering the title, this introduces a motivic interest in downward motion. There's a clear descending line from G to F, then E to E flat. Two of those notes aren't in the song's key, G major, which may have a deeper symbolic meaning for reasons we'll return to. The sax is soon joined by the bassist, Tyler Hyde, on vocals. The opening lyrics, "Look at what we did together," also take on greater relevance later. Just as Tyler begins the next phrase, the ensemble enters with a bang, the low punch of the bass balanced out by cymbal crashes and clinking piano chords. Given the hubbub, we'd be forgiven for missing the words. Breaking the phrases up with unusually placed ellipses, Tyler asks the song's subject if they came through hardship depleted or revitalized. The music reflects that dichotomy. The question is cut in two by the change of texture, half sung during the full band passage, half in relative quiet. Tyler often uses the bass to provide a melodic counterpoint, and more than once plays a line that ascends as the other instrumental parts fall. The vocals also make subtle use of word painting. At one point, the tune echoes the opening sax figure as it dips down to an F on the word survive. This is the lowest note sung so far, and Tyler's vocal tone is audibly darker in this register. But almost instantly, the melody rises again, on lyrics about emerging from a dark pit. The phrase "you once lived" is repeated, emphasising the use of past tense. We then get a brief interlude with a new saxophone part, this time moving almost entirely in downward steps rather than leaps. Tyler's vocals take this idea up, accompanied by pizzicato violin, before we crash into another ensemble passage that includes prominent piano octaves. Occasionally, Tyler's bass line emphasises a tritone, often nicknamed the Devil's Interval by those trying to sensationalise its dissonance. It features a lot in the group's music, but it's especially relevant here, given an earlier line from the first verse. This section gives way to a triumphant group chant. It's an unapologetically joyous moment that transforms the opening line. Upsong was originally Tyler's own creation, a solo track about self-love. But this new addition reclaims it for the band as a whole. The group's fans were unsure how they'd fare when their previous singer, Isaac Wood, left to take care of his mental health. This line seems to indirectly address that, allowing BCNR to celebrate their past achievements while expressing shared excitement for what the future brings. Let's look at the repeated chord progression. G major is our tonic chord or home chord. G7 adds an F, turning it into what's often called a dominant 7th chord. This creates tension that we traditionally resolve by moving to the chord 5 notes below, here C major. But how do we explain the next chord, C minor 6, with that E flat? We can look to the concept of negative harmony, which claims that each chord has an inverse equivalent. The negative version of a dominant 7th chord 5 notes above the tonic is the minor 6th chord 5 notes below. In the context of G major, that gives us C minor 6, the final chord in our progression. Coincidence or not, the progression acts like a seesaw, alternating between tension and release, each musical decision balanced out by its opposite. That suits the lyrics' focus on polarity, as summed up in the outro. Tyler sings, "I've come apart," pulling the last syllable to pieces, before a final line about splitting in two. The song as a whole may predate Isaac's departure, but its theme still offers catharsis following that period of uncertainty, made all the sweeter by the crowd's closing cheers. It's a beautifully fitting way for BCNR to start a new chapter, accepting the ups and downs we all experience and standing together to face them head on. For more analysis, you can browse the playlist, subscribe, and support Apocopop on Patreon. See you next time.